Rome is asleep. The torches inside the palace burn low against the marble walls. Guards yawn at the gates of the imperial residence, while the most powerful city on earth sinks into silence. But one door slowly opens. The Empress waits a few seconds before leaving. She listens to her husband's breathing, counts every pause, waits for the heavy snoring, waits until she is absolutely certain he will not wake up. Then she walks toward a small wooden box hidden behind purple fabrics. Inside it, another life exists, a blonde wig. She carefully covers her dark hair, removes her gold necklaces, slips off the imperial rings, exchanges silk for rough wool, perfume for the smell of smoke and dirty streets. When she finishes, the most powerful woman in the Roman Empire no longer exists. Now there is only Lysiska. She leaves the palace through the back entrance with a single servant and descends into the dark streets of Rome, past the Forum, past the temples, past taverns overflowing with drunk men and spilled wine, until she reaches the Subura, the filthiest district in the city, a place where thieves, prostitutes, gamblers, and murderers crowded together in narrow alleys stained with mud and dried blood. And there, in the one place senators would never dare enter, the Empress of Rome rented a room inside a brothel, a tiny chamber, a stone bench, a thin mattress, a torn curtain separating the room from the hallway. She hung a sign outside the door, Lysiska, and then she waited for customers, night after night. This is not legend. Roman historians like Tacitus, Suetonius, and Juvenal wrote about it centuries ago. And the most disturbing part was not what Messalina did in secret. It was the fact that all of Rome knew, and still, nobody could stop her. Because Messalina was not merely a dangerous woman, she was what happens when absolute power falls into the hands of someone who never learned limits. Valeria Messalina was born into the highest levels of Roman aristocracy, a descendant of the family of Augustus, related to Mark Antony, raised inside the blood-soaked corridors of imperial politics. She grew up during the reign of Caligula, an emperor who turned executions into entertainment, a man who declared himself a god, who humiliated senators for amusement. Messalina learned one lesson very early. In Rome, power did not belong to the most honorable. It belonged to the cruelest. She was around 15 years old when she was married off to Caligula's uncle, Claudius. Claudius was nearly 50. He stuttered, dragged one of his legs when he walked. His own family mocked him openly. Nobody believed he would ever rule Rome. But everything changed in a single night. In 41 AD, Caligula was assassinated inside the imperial palace. Chaos consumed the city. Senators screamed, soldiers ran through the corridors, and hiding behind a curtain, trembling in fear, was Claudius. The Praetorian Guard found him there. They did not kill him. They made him emperor. Overnight, the most ridiculed man in the imperial family became the most powerful man on earth. And Messalina, still barely more than a teenager, became Empress of Rome. That was the moment Rome created something it would later try desperately to destroy. Because Claudius had one fatal weakness. He trusted her completely. And Messalina understood that very quickly. The first victims appeared soon after. Senators, generals, women close to the imperial court, anyone who looked like a threat. And Messalina discovered the perfect weapon: fear. One of the first men to fall was Appius Silanus, respected, influential, trusted by the emperor. Ancient sources claim Messalina attempted to seduce him. He rejected her. It was a fatal mistake. The following morning, Messalina appeared before Claudius with tears in her eyes. She claimed she had experienced a terrifying dream. In the dream, Silanus walked through the palace carrying a knife. He was coming to murder the emperor in his sleep. Then another man stepped forward. Narcissus, Claudius's closest advisor. He lied. He claimed he had seen the exact same dream that very same night. 2 identical visions, 2 warnings. Claudius panicked. Hours later, Silanus was dead. No trial, no evidence, no defense. And that was only the beginning. Because Messalina discovered something terrifying about Rome. If you control the emperor's fear, you control the empire itself. More deaths followed, more accusations, more executions. A woman named Julia Livilla was accused of conspiracy and sent into exile, where she slowly starved to death. Then came Valerius Asiaticus, one of the most respected men in Rome. His true crime? Owning the most magnificent gardens in the city, the gardens of Lucullus. Messalina wanted them for herself, so she created accusations of treason, false witnesses, rumors, whispers, until Asiaticus received the traditional Roman choice, take your own life, or be publicly executed. On the night of his death, he hosted one final dinner for his closest friends, then opened his veins, and the gardens became Messalina's property. But political power was not the darkest part of her story. The real horror began while Rome slept, because it was during the night, wearing the blonde wig, that the Empress vanished into the streets of the city. Reports about her nocturnal escapades became so widespread that even members of the Praetorian Guard whispered about them in secret. One guard spoke too much. Days later, he was dead. The message was clear. Anyone who watched Messalina did not survive for long. And then the stories became even more disturbing. The historian Pliny the Elder recorded an episode so extreme that centuries later it still sounds impossible. According to him, Messalina entered a contest against one of Rome's most famous prostitutes. The challenge would last an entire night. No breaks. Whoever received the most men would win. Pliny claimed Messalina won. Modern historians still debate whether the numbers were literal or symbolic. But something far more important remains undeniable. The Romans believed it. Because Messalina had already become a symbol of absolute excess, a woman who seemed to exist beyond normal human limits. But neither sex, nor murder, nor manipulation would ultimately destroy Messalina. What destroyed her was something far more dangerous: love, or perhaps ambition. The man's name was Gaius Silius, young, handsome, charismatic, one of the most desired men in Rome. Messalina wanted him immediately. And when the empress desired something, Rome quickly learned that the word no ceased to exist. She ordered him to divorce his wife. He obeyed. But Silius did not merely want the empress. He wanted the throne, and he began whispering dangerous ideas into her ear. Claudius is old. Claudius is weak. Why wait? So Messalina made the decision that destroyed everything. While the emperor was away performing religious ceremonies, Messalina married Silius, publicly, with priests, guests, contracts, witnesses. The Empress of Rome held an official wedding while her husband was still alive. The news spread across Rome like wildfire. Servants whispered. Senators fled. The entire city panicked. Because this was not merely adultery, it was a coup. When Claudius learned what had happened, his first reaction was not anger. It was fear. Am I still emperor? The Praetorian Guard mobilized immediately. Soldiers flooded the streets. The celebration collapsed into chaos. Senators ran through gardens pretending they had never attended the ceremony. For the first time in her life, Messalina panicked. She tried to reach Claudius, sent messages, begged, reminded him that she was the mother of his children. And for a moment, it almost worked, because Claudius hesitated. Again. But Narcissus understood something horrifying. If Messalina survived the night, everyone who opposed her would be dead by morning. So he lied once more. He told the soldiers the emperor had ordered her immediate execution. It was false, but by then, it no longer mattered. The guards found Messalina inside the gardens of Lucullus, the same gardens for which she had condemned an innocent man to death. There, surrounded by stolen luxury, the Empress of Rome finally collapsed. Her mother stood beside her and spoke only a few words. Die with dignity. Messalina tried to hold the blade, but her hands trembled. The woman who had condemned so many others could not do the same to herself. Then a soldier stepped forward and finished it for her. That same night, a servant informed Claudius during dinner that Messalina was dead. According to Suetonius, the emperor simply asked for more wine and continued eating. Then came something even darker. Rome tried to erase Messalina from existence. The Senate approved the damnatio memoriae, the condemnation of memory. Statues destroyed, coins disfigured, names erased from monuments, faces carved out of marble. It was as if Rome was attempting to kill her a second time. Only now, through oblivion. But it failed, because historians wrote. And writing survives longer than empires. 2,000 years later, people still speak her name. Messalina, the woman Rome created, the woman Rome feared, and the woman Rome tried desperately to erase from history.